welcome back to the Nasty Metal Protector channel here at YouTube. Welcome to, the third installment here in Judas Priest week. And of course, tomorrow will be the fourth and last one, only I only can do so many at least in 1 week and talk about Judas Priest, and there's only very much I could at least talk about. This one, though, is, of course, I can see, it's not a discussion. Instead, I'm going to show my top 15 favorite Judas Priest albums. And before I really went into this, there's so many topics that you can talk about, you know, and already, most of them have already been discussed on other channels, whatever, and I kind of want to do some more interesting things with this whole week. But, so, that's why I'm just cutting a little bit short here, and just going into, definitely my top 15, so without further ado, let me head in. Shit, I think I might have forgot to bring in something. Fuck it. Anyways, it's not like I actually have the cover to show, but let me get into my list. Here, rate your music. Alright. So, again, it's my top 15 favorite Judas Priest albums, so let's get into it. Number 15 is, what I just was about to almost forgot to bring out, even though it's only on cassette, and I don't have the cover anyways, or I lost it years back. But, as of course, is Turbo. I know. And this was kind of a last-minute decision to where I want it because of the album it's coming after this one. It was originally at number 15. But Turbo, when I first listened to it back when I was growing up, back maybe it had been either 2004 or 2005, one of those years. And I already, by this time, I was already listening to some of the classic Judas Priest albums, which some of them a few of them definitely make into this list, for sure. But when I listened to Turbo years back during that time, I listened to it a lot. Definitely going to school and everything, I always played it. These days, it's not one of those Judas Priest albums that I actually go for. I think it's one of my least favorite Judas Priest albums. But the reason I put on this is because of the nostalgia that I have, at least for its album. The only song off of Turbo that I actually really like still is, Out in the Cold. It's probably the only song on here that I actually really still like. Sure, without the synth intro, it's still, to me, classic Priest. But, and of course, the video before this one, the last one I did was the various different sounds of Judas Priest. This sound definitely was a different sound for him, but I already kind of talked about that, so all I gotta say is, what it meant to me, and nostalgic-wise, it's a classic to me, and nostalgia, my old self, my new self, not so much, but because of my old self, it made the list anyways, but bottom. Alright, so, finally coming at number 14, which was at originally number 15, and again, this was a last-minute decision, is, of course, British Steel. British Steel is a good album, of course. I think in my the first installment for Judas Priest Week, which of course was an album of the week, and I'll get to that album. And I know, spoiler, it's in the list. Anyways, I think I did kind of little bit talk down a bit on British Steel, but I think what makes it sound better than Turbo in a way is just alone, I think it has a bit better, there's more songs in there that I really like. You got Rapid Fire, Metal Gods, song playing in the background, as you can see on my television. It's, of course, the DVD that's on here, the 30th anniversary DVD, which was recorded during, the anniversary show. They're playing the whole entire British Steel album. Good show, though. Definitely great. But, just other good songs in here. Grinder, The Rage, Stealer. I got to see Judas Priest play the song The Rage, and it's probably one of the more deeper cuts off this album. But even I have a soft spot even in a song like You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise. It's very simple sounding, but it just has something that grabs. However, songs like Breaking the Law, United, Living After Midnight, I don't have to hear again. But still, re-listening to the album, there's still some good songs on this one. Definitely more good songs than on the Turbo album, for sure. Just a solid, decent. Supposed to go right there, because whenever I get to stop playing this DVD or whenever it gets done, put it back. Anyways, again, because of that, it's just got more songs better than Turbo. More songs that are just good all around than it just lacking one song. But still, it's a good album. That just not a go for Judas Priest album. Alright, coming in number 13 is going to be surprising that an album like this actually, if anyone would be surprised by Turbo making the list, you're going to be somewhat surprised by the album that's coming after British Steel. And that's going to be it's crazy. Not I own, but I have to include it. And right now it's only a burned copy because I had burned it from my brothers who does own it. But still, I kind of like this album. Coming in number 13 in my top 15 favorite Judas Priest albums is Jugulator. Holy shit, you're probably completely, wow, this actually made the list. Yes, in a way, I find this album almost a little bit better than British Steel. Sure, I kind of, again, in my various Sounds of Judas Priest video, I do go into the Tim Ripper Owens era a bit, which was a bit of a, again, Judas Priest is one of the, probably the rare bands who probably changed up more of their sound than any other band besides them. And when it comes to metal bands, not a whole lot of metal bands changed up their sound. Sure, slightly, but not nearly as much as Judas Priest. And this album is one of those where they once again changed up the sound. It was all to match the members, either it was the members or it was just the overall times. Because if Rob Halford was still in the band, they still would have made Jugulator. They still would have. They definitely went for that sort of Pantera-esque sort of sound. But again, when it comes to that sort of groove metal sound, this would probably be up there as one of my favorite groove metal albums. It has a bit of a thrashy feel to it. Kind of more like the very first, more like Cowboys from Hell. If this was the follow-up on that Pantera hat, if this was Vulgar Display of Power, I would have immediately liked Vulgar Display of Power more, probably just as much as Cowboys from Hell. But because of Pantera kept going with the slower, almost more, kind of just straight up sort of, not nearly as fast kind of stuff. Yeah, but in a way, I think Jugulator is at least a good album. Tim Ripper Owens, I think, does a lot more. Many have always said how he's always felt strained. I think Tim Ripper Owens strained himself more on the album after this one, which was Demolition, which is definitely one of my least favorite Judas Priest albums. Then on this album, he at least belts out quite a bit of good screams here and there. And of course, Cathedral Spirals. Probably one of the definitely, which should be up there as one of the top best Judas Priest songs. Anyways, from a bootleg cover of this is actually, I wish should have been used for the original copy. That's the full cover. Why the cropness of it? I hate that. Just stick with the original full artwork. It was already good to begin with. That's why I'm on a lookout for actually the Victor Records promo Japanese pressing of this, which kind of does use the full cover, but I can't seem to find that copy anywhere. No one seems to be selling it. It's like it exists apparently, but I don't know where I can find it. That Victor that promotional Japanese CD copy of this album. So there. Yeah, Jugulator number 13. And this might be kind of a long video, but whatever. Coming Coming at number 12, another album you're a little bit surprised to actually see. This, originally this was a top 10 video, but there was just quite a bit of many Judas Priest sounds I did like that I had to bump it to at least 15. So, this was originally at number 10, but it made it number 12. I just recently obtained this album. This was definitely one that was missing out of my collection. I ended up finding a really good used Japanese pressing. It's one of the originals. Coming in is, of course, Ram It Down. Usually this album is somewhat hated, and probably just as much as Turbo, but I don't know, I actually like the sound more than Turbo. Yes, there is flaws with this album. The production, to even, of course, their the addition of their cover, Johnny B. Good, which in my various sounds, Judas Priest, I pretty much consider it one of the most embarrassing cover songs. It is. Probably because there was a movie that was released a year before this one, and of course it was used. Judas Priest recorded it for like a soundtrack. It was a movie called Johnny B. Good, and it had one of the actors from, I think, that movie, Weird Science, and along with I want to say Emilio Estevez, but not. It's kind of a cheesy comedy film, but still, the fact that Judas Priest had to choose a song and chose this to be, because they always were asked to do like to do soundtracks. Originally, for the Turbo album, the song "Records" was supposed to have been used for the soundtrack to Top Gun, but Judas Priest declined it. Instead, how many times that they declined for a soundtrack, whatever, they were for film, whatever, they decided to do it for the movie Johnny B. Good. Guess what? And between the two movies, one's considered somewhat of a cheesy classic, one isn't. Top Gun is considered, to some extent, a classic, while the movie Johnny B. Good, not so much. Yeah, I want to say that Judas Priest probably should have took the deal for Top Gun than for the movie Johnny B. Good. At least it would have saved Ram It Down. I would have preferred the song Thunder Road that was used as a bonus track for Point of Entry to be used in this album as a replacement than fucking the cover of Johnny B. Good. So, there's that. But still, I actually like the album. They went back to being a bit more, well, just more like Judas Priest. Hard as Iron. Probably one of the most underrated Judas Priest songs. It definitely is a taster for the album that was to come after this one. Still, good album, I actually say. And again, it's a used copy that came intact with its OBI. Found it for a really good price off of Amazon. Really good price. I was expecting to get it off of Discogs, so I was looking for an original Japanese pressing. But I found it on Amazon. So, really good. Alright, so coming in at number 11 is an album I don't own, but I almost had a chance to actually get an original vinyl pressing of this album at one point in time, but when I went back and I didn't have it. Still on the lookout for it. Coming in at number 11 is Rocka Rolla from Judas Priest, the very first album. I think I did mention, of course I mentioned this album and, my various sounds of Judas Priest. This was our very first album, and it is definitely the most different Judas Priest album. Again, Judas Priest, like I said, is one of those rare bands, or rare metal bands, who have changed their sound more times than any other metal band. No one has ever fucking changed up their sound. You can't say that Rocka Rolla sounds like Painkiller. You can't say that it sounds like Jugulator. You can't say that it sounds like Screaming for Vengeance. You can't even say that it sounds like Turbo or Ram It Down. You just can't. It's such a different album. It very much is a bit of a product of the 1970s. But even when it comes to that, it's actually a pretty solid 70s hard and heavy record. But for a Judas Priest album, it's definitely not considered much of a classic. But it's just one of those that's just so different that it sticks out like a sore thumb in Judas Priest's discography. Still, I've got a soft spot for the album. I think it's a good album from Judas Priest, and for their debut, I think it was a solid start for Judas Priest. So, Rocka Rolla. Alright, so coming in number 10 is, well, the comeback album for Rob Halford back in Judas Priest, and that's, of course, his Angel of Retribution, which was released back in 2005. When I was growing up listening to Judas Priest, I grew up when Tim Ripper Owens was still in the band, but I never got to listen to Judas Priest until 2003 when I had gotten that very best of Judas Priest. So by the time of 2005, I always heard that Judas Priest had a new album out, but I never knew that it was a comeback album for Rob Halford. Not until when me and my brother really started digging in some of the albums by Judas Priest, and then started when it came to Angel Retribution, even knowing about that Judas Priest had a singer none other than Rob Halford. Besides even knowing later on that even Judas Priest had a singer even before Rob Halford, being Al Atkins. So it was very interesting hearing that. But Angel Retribution's actually, I would say, is almost a bit of an underrated album. I think that album kind of still holds up. It's a good album, got Judas Rising. Judas, let me go on like the track listing here. Worth Fighting For, I also really dig. Deal with the Devil, Demonizer, Hellrider, just a Revolution. And of course, it's got, I almost failed to mention my various sounds of Judas Priest before going like Nostradamus, which is not on this list. I definitely almost consider that album a bit of a list favorite because it's such a different album in its own right. But again, almost before that, how many times I made so much progressive songs. This is definitely, it's one of the longest songs I ever did. Blood Red Skies could have been one of the longest songs if they had released that, because that song was originally, there is like a 10-minute version of Blood Red Skies. However, for that time, that would have been considered the longest song Judas Priest ever recorded. But Loch Ness beats that song in a way in terms of long. Loch Ness, about Loch Ness Monster and everything, or the whole mystery surrounding that creature. Still, it's one of the longest songs Judas Priest ever written. But is it one of their best? No. Just like how I don't consider Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Iron Maiden one of the best songs Iron Maiden ever recorded. Or Empire of the Clouds, I do not consider one of the best songs Iron Maiden recorded. But again, its ambition, the ambitiousness to even write or record a really long song is just pretty. Again, it's respectable. So Angel Retribution number 10. All right, so coming in number 9 is the first live album here to be shown. It's of course Priest Live. Again, just like with Turbo, I listen to Sam a lot on cassette. But I would say that I think the songs that were taken off Turbo sound better live here. They are a bit raw. It's less processed sounding. Fuck. The version Out in the Cold is actually better than the album version. Of course, they take many songs from like albums, it's everything from like British Steel onwards to Turbo, and I think in a way it almost fits. It's definitely a time capsule for Judas Priest, definitely during the time when they started looking more like a hair metal band. But the sound here, it's a bit raw, and I would say I prefer this still over Turbo. I think this one, some of the stuff, even the cheesier songs off of Turbo sound a bit better on here than they do on Turbo. So and again, I played it many times, so of course, and even still, it to me holds up better. So, Priest Live at number 9. Alright, coming in at, coming in number 8. Another album, alongside Ram It Down, that I didn't have, but I finally acquired. of course, is the album that I did spotlight as my album of the week. That's, of course, is Killing Machine. This, of course, again, is the same original Japanese pressing like Ram It Down, though without the OBI strip. Same seller. Good condition, though. Can't complain. Of course, it's a Japanese pressing with its original European title, but it does have their cover agreement Alishi. Again, this album is, again, one of those that just sounds different than any other Judas Priest album. Again, almost has more of a... This almost mimics a bit of funk at times and a little bit of slightly disco, but not to the point to where it actually overrides the sound. It just has that sort of feel. But again, their first foray in mainstream sound or mainstream rock, but the best done at that. Still, so yeah, it's just a good album. Everything like Different the Goods, Rock Forever. I already did a review on it anyways for my album of the week, so I'll just link you to there. So, I think actually probably right there. Still, good album from Judas Priest and one I really like. If I have that one. Alright, so coming in number 7, it's surprising that because of this is probably the very first full-length Judas Priest album that I ever listened to. Yeah, this was the very first one, but surprisingly one I don't listen to as much. But, I have a lot of respect for this album, and it's one that I still have a soft spot for, and it's one of those greatest, or what people consider one of the greatest Judas Priest albums of all time. That, of course, is Screaming for Vengeance. What can be said? What I'll be saying probably almost reiterates what everyone else says. The Hellion, Electric Eye, Riding on the Wind, Bloodstone, the title track. The title track is probably my absolute favorite song I've heard, and up there is one of my absolute favorite Judas Priest songs, and hear them actually play the song Screaming for Vengeance live in person. It's amazing. Still, not nearly as much of a Judas Priest album that I go for these days, but still I have a huge soft spot for this album. Fucking glare. Anyways, just a killer album though from Judas Priest, and definitely up there. One of those albums. It's great. Alright, so coming in at number 6, again, this album also goes hand in hand with Screaming for Vengeance. That's, of course, is the Fetters of the Faith. Another bootleg copy. This one I had on cassette as well. And this is just, again, I would say definitely still holds up. Just that first half of the sound. Free Will Burning, Jawbreaker, and the Sentinel. Even the song Rock Hard, Ride Free. And of course on side B being Eat Me Alive, probably some of my absolute favorite Judas Priest songs as well. It's almost a bit of a raw production than Screaming for Vengeance. Screaming for Vengeance always felt a bit clean. Here, this one almost has a bit of a dirty sort of sound, and it's probably because of Mark Dodson, who of course is best known for producing The Dark by, Metal Church, or Obis's El Quemas, which the Spanish metal band. It just has a bit of a rougher sort of production. Sure, it sounds 80s sounding, but I love Defenders of the Faith. I think it's a classic album for sure. So, there, definitely. I said it. A classic Judas Priest album for sure. Alright. Wow. Coming in at number 5 is, probably up there as definitely up there as one of the heaviest Judas Priest albums, is, of course, Painkiller. Again, the various sounds of Judas Priest. They'll start off like this 70s hard rock band, then they morph years later into this almost speed power metal band. It's just unbelievable how many times Judas Priest has changed up the sound, but then This is probably what many people will consider the best sound since Stained Class. Just up there as just completely classic. Just it's a masterpiece, definitely. But it's an album, again, surprisingly, I don't nearly go for as much. But I still like Painkiller. Everything about this, almost the entire album, pretty much. It's great Judas Priest, and of course, it was produced by the recently late Chris Sangarides, and still, everything about this got a heavy sound. Just a solid Judas Priest sound, definitely a classic for sure. Just trying to move the video along as much. Going number 4 is an album I don't own, but still I'm looking out for a copy still, at least a Japanese pressing. Been trying to at least getting some of the Japanese press. I think they just sound a little better than some of like the either remasters or whatever. Is Soundings of Destiny. Just a classic Judas Priest sound, of course. This was definitely, there's follow-up to Rocka Rolla, but was now really ushering a bit more of what that classic Priest sound is, even though Judas Priest went with so many sounds. Almost anyone would probably say, yeah, this is the classic Priest sound. This is. Still, Victim of Changes, The Ripper, Island Domination, Dreamer Deceiver, Genocide, Tyrant. It's a killer album from Judas Priest all around. Coming in at number 3, another album don't own, second live album here, and you probably know which live album that one is. That's, of course, is Unleashed in the East, or originally released in Japan as Priest in the East, live in Japan. And still, I'll eventually definitely get this. I got the same Japanese 1991 pressing, just like the two that I show, like Killing Machine, Ram It Down, in my Amazon want list. So I'll definitely eventually will get this, but still, it's a classic Judas Priest live album. Just Judas Priest live in the late 70s, in their prime. Everything about it is just great. I don't need to reiterate anything. Coming in at number 2, again, another album I don't own, but still I'm looking out for, is Sin After Sin. Which I actually do have the cover here. It's on my wall. What can be said about Sin After Sin? It's one of those others that is a pure favorite of mine. Sinner, Distant Aggressor, Let Us Pray, Call for the Priest. All classic Judas Priest songs there, and just a fantastic album from all the way through. And you probably know what is number 1 then, and that's, of course, is the almighty Stained Class. I already talked about this in my top 30 or top 20 albums from like 1978. It's, I'm not going to say where it is, but you might have a good guess where this album is also at. I don't need to reiterate anything. One of my all-time absolute favorite Judas Priest albums, and one that I still definitely go for to this day. And again, if there's an album that is somewhat low, I'm not taking away anything from them. They all have their spot. So, just a killer album from Judas Priest as usual. So, there you have it. There is my top 15 favorite Judas Priest albums. Some of them, only the last 2 being not so, but again, the spot for them. So, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you definitely like this list or whatever. I don't, I probably shouldn't say that because of you all probably know what to say about these albums. I don't need to. You may disagree with some of these, where they are at, but then again, it's a favorite list. I pretty much like most of these albums. I'm not trying to take away anything from them. So, with that, you know what the next video is going to be. So, I'll definitely see you on Friday. So, until then, it's here for the rest. I say I'm out. And I'll see you again later. Take care.